It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
Welcome one and all, it's time for a seasonally spicy edition of the Andy and Rem Show, episode 197. Look how excited Santa is for the show. That excitement is reflected in the face of Remington. About to see right there on your screen. Good evening, Remington. Good evening, world.
Hey guys, how are you doing? You alright? Nice to be back once again.
The question on everyone's lips. Did you have a good Christmas, Mr. Rem?
Yeah, it was nice, man. It was cool. Nice to see people streaming into this live chat, emergency broadcast, seasonal. Hello, Mickey. Hello, Rafe. Hello, Colin. Hey, Brendan. Hello, everyone that's going to come later.
It's been a very spicy festive season, obviously, with this show being back on the air. It's the main reason people gathering round and celebrating at this time of year, I'm pretty sure. Don't think there's anything else major going on. You're supposed to agree with me.
What's that?
Are you actually listening?
What?
Do you even listen to my intros?
Not really, no. Does anyone else?
Well, the audience must listen because I've looked at the analytics and there isn't a significant drop-off in viewers when I start talking. There is a significant drop-off in previous episodes during the Forest of Rem segment, which is unfortunate. So I feel like some people tune in for the tactical Age of Sigmar discussion, and then as soon as they realise, actually, that's not what this is at all, look at them, they're going on about flesh wands. That's when they tune out.
That's different though, isn't it? Because we are going to look at some tactical whatnots and War Scrolls, because me and you are entering end of year Age of Sigmar tournament. And it's single player, so I'm especially nervous because the first one I've gone into is a single player, and it's 3 games. I'm looking to go 3-0, or is it 0-3? When you get 3 losses, you're looking to get 3-0 wins.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I'm just stressing about it. So I'm getting all my War Scrolls together. I think I got my point. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, that's why I'm a bit distracted, because it's like. So much information I've got to retain. It's like doing your exams, isn't it? It's like revising for your exams the night before.
Well, once you get into like your 5th and 6th and 7th tournament, if you're using pretty much the same units each time, it's not that much to remember once you've already used them frequently in a competitive setting. But yes, anyone who's tuned into this show and maybe has slandered us by saying these guys don't even play the game, they just talk about the releases. Well, both of us tomorrow attending the same tournament in Nottingham, and it's a one-day midweek spectacular, 3 games each. Will we play against each other? That's the interesting question.
I hope so. I always fancy my chances against you, Andy, even though my recent record's been dire.
Well, it's entirely possible, because first round, it could happen. Second round, we assume that you get annihilated. Potentially, I could face someone who's just really good and has a very strong army list, so I could lose as well. We could play each other in round 2.
I would like us to play in round 1, and because, I think you'll be kind to me in terms of just prompting me on, because you're a nice guy, and you're good like that, and I think while you're doing that, I will get totally refreshed with what to do and when and what I can do, while you're beating me. And then that might prepare me better for game 2 then.
Well, you know what I've done as well? In anticipation of a Remington tournament attendance, I've decided, you know what, you're not going to remember your battle tactics. So I've printed out this handy-dandy sheet with all the battle tactics on it.
Are we having to do that then? The battle tactics.
Yeah.
I hate those.
And then when you've done a battle tactic, you put a little tick next to it. So you'll know that
I
you've...
rarely do them.
Well,
I try.
if you've attempted that battle tactic, you put a little tick next to it. And then you'll keep track of which ones you've done, and they're all just there. Because one thing I don't like about the battle tactics cards, actually, is that they're double-sided with a different tactic on each side. So you have to turn them over. So you only get 4, but there's actually 8 battle tactics. You're constantly having to flip them back and forth, remembering which ones you've done.
I don't know what we're talking about. Each round, you have a specific thing, little mission you've got to do in that round, and that could be, move 3 units, up, run in the first round, and that's usually the one you get first turn, the only one you can really do, and it forces you to move up. Really, it forces you to gain objectives, forces you to engage. And recently, I've not wanted to do any of that because I wanted to hang back, because every time I've gone forward, I get annihilated.
I think it's because you didn't want to buy this season's General's Handbook.
No, I did.
I think that's entirely why you've been dodging the battle tactics, because I'm sure you don't even know any of them.
I do. I just mentioned one. You have to run with 3 units.
Would it crush your spirits if I told you that battle tactic isn't in the current season?
Oh, what? Oh, no.
You want me to go through them and tell you during this show? I'll go through them all for you. Let's not do it right this second, but...
Will I get a sheet with them on then? Oh, you've done that for me. That's nice of you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very kind of me, very thoughtful.
I'm going to get absolutely annihilated. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, we'll look through your list in a minute as well, and then we'll look at mine. Because I know you've been spying on some of the other lists that are attending this tournament. It's not been filling you with confidence, but that is a thing. When you've submitted your list to an event, if the lists are public and you're then able to go through them, it happens in every game system. You look through and you think, wait a minute, how are they able to fit all that into 2,000 points? That's way too much stuff. How am I going to beat that? And I'm sure our opponents think that about our lists as well.
Really?
That's usually it's the usual thought you have. You're scrolling down and you think, oh, I wish this list would end. How is this still not up to the point limit? And there's just more and more units.
Well, yes. I don't know. I didn't. The list I saw, I didn't see any fun models. So that didn't inspire me. Mickey says, "Can Rem's games be streamed? There'll be premium quality entertainment. They will be streamed, or they may be streamed."
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's any streaming going on, because it is at the TSN Arena, so they do have the capability for that. But I don't know if they've got any streaming planned for tomorrow. There was another one-day event today, was there as well, and I think there's one also on the day after tomorrow. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's at least 3 one-day events there this week.
I think I should invent my own battle tactics, really, and that is one of them should be get tabled by the end of round 2. That's definitely one.
Definitely doable.
Yeah, and another one is don't win any games, and get your general killed off in round 1.
Who's your general?
It's a loon boss on Mangler Squig.
Not bad. Not bad. Now, we know you've gone Squig mad. So, as I was looking through the Warhammer community earlier, I saw this.
Sent you pictures, Andy, so maybe you could show them up if we want to get to that. I could show pictures of the...
We will do, momentarily. But what I spotted is that a couple of these red gobbos, apparently, being... From what I could understand from my brief read through it, it looks like they're being bundled together or something. One of them's got a Squig on it.
Well, that might be nice. I mean,
There's this one on the pogo stick.
I wonder how big that miniature is. The guy, the Squig handler. Yeah, no, the pogo stick. I don't know how they're going to sell that, because that is a Blood Bowl miniature.
Let's see. He's joining his old mate and/or adversary, Nobbler Blackwort, in a gruesome twofer from Forge World.
Yeah.
Let's click that. Let's go wild.
Nobbler
Blackwort. Is that Nobbler Blackwort?
Wow, he's cool.
Yeah, so that's being bundled in with the pogo stick, which you could feasibly use as a Squig Hopper.
Yeah.
And then there's this one with an actual Squig. Now, I've always wondered why some of the miniatures don't come with their creature on their base, and some of them do. So, for example, if you remember the first edition Age of Sigmar, you had the Chaos Dude and his beast. They were together on one base, weren't they?
Yeah.
Then the Stormcast, you get all these heroes that have an individual Gryph-hound that counts as part of that model, yet they have a separate base for it. So, very weird.
Yeah, I guess because of Hound, they can send the Hound off and run to do different things.
Some of them can, but some of them it's just part of the model, just an extension of their base.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. I mean, what do you think of this model then? I don't like the mask. I will be changing the face of that one for sure, so you can actually see his face. But yeah,
Bag of
I like it.
mushrooms. Yeah, so
it's basically a squig herder boss, isn't he? Gives you bonuses.
On the subject of Squigs, let's have a look at all these pictures you sent me earlier with a very nicely picked out background colour, say. So, are any of these fresh paint jobs here?
No.
So this is
there will be. Yeah, some of them, but it's not the entire army because I did this so quick. It's just examples of each unit.
So this is most of your list, is it?
This is all the list, but some units there'll be just 3 or 4 miniatures to represent the unit. When in reality, I'm taking 10 or 20 of that model. You know. Yeah, this is my Mangler. This is the Loon Boss and Mangler. It's an old school model. I have recently purchased 2 more of these, so this is going to be a theme of mine because I do like playing with these. Comes in with 12 wounds. As it dies, it actually gets worse, but then it kind of gets better towards the end, which I like. This is if you can get the charge in, it's wicked. But I do have a nice artifact where after my charge, after my combat round, I can run away. So let's say Andy won't be able to hit back.
Nice. That's always a rule that irritates me when enemies have it, so I'm sure that's going to do well for you. Ability to bounce away. And
then I've got another ability on him. I think it's a command ability. Now that was a command ability. And then I've got the Loonstone Talisman, which gives him 5+ saves against mortal wounds. Which would be good. This is the Squig Hopper, which is an artillery piece. I'm very much looking forward to using this because it's going to be a lot of fun. 6 attacks, range 30. I don't have to see the models. If the target's got more than 10 models, I get a bonus. 4 to hit, 3 to wound, D3 damage. There's no rend, there's no mortal wounds, but yeah, it could be fun.
Just got to pick your targets wisely so you're testing it.
Yeah. And actually, it's got the monster keyword. So if anyone does decide to attack it, it does have quite a vicious bite and also can do a stomp.
All monstrous rampage actions.
Yeah.
Now I've got some squig hopping goodness here.
Yeah, so this is the Loon Boss on a giant squig. I have just recently painted the newest version of that. I don't know how well you can see that there. As soon as I can.
Not very well. Is it actually finished?
Yeah, just about.
You'll have to put photos of it on the Andy and Rem Show Discord server then. People can see it in glorious HD.
Here we go. Is that all blurry then?
It's a bit blurry. We get the gist of it.
We get the gist. You know that model. The Moon Cutter looks better than the Spear. I mean, I think it's more. It looks. The War Scroll looks better. I need to trial this. He just comes naked, as they say. I haven't put anything on him. But yeah, he's going to give some bonuses to squig units, extra movement, basically. So yeah, it's my sub commander, if you like.
Now, what is going on here? Because this looks pretty scary.
So I've got a Madcap Shaman, and so that counts as a Madcap Shaman. That hopefully they'll let me do that.
Don't see why not.
Sure they will. You are.
Don't see why not.
Yeah, and I've brought one endless spell, and that's Mork's Mighty Mushroom, which is a bit of fun.
I've seen firsthand the kind of damage that can do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to that. That can do damage to friendly units as well. But what I like about the Shaman is he gets a 4+ ward save, which is brilliant. because he has a little gribbly pet that tries to protect him every time he gets hit. And he's got a nice spell of his own as well that deals out mortal wounds too.
Can't
So
argue with a bit
this,
of mortal wound output.
yeah. So I come in with 10 Squig Hoppers. Um, these are pretty good. They do give out mortal wounds if you jump over a unit, and on a 4+, um, each enemy unit can get a mortal wound against it. So that can be pretty good. Although I've never been able to use that. I think mainly because Andy just tends to charge me really quickly, so I can't ever use these abilities.
That does happen. So when it says jump over, I'm going to assume that you don't have to actually jump clear of the unit, because you don't have to move in a just a complete straight line, do you?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, this unit can fly.
Yeah, so you
I'm
could
not,
effectively arch through the unit and come back out the front if the unit's too big for you to get to the side. See what I mean?
I'd love to. It sounds a bit gamey to do that, though, don't you think?
I don't know, because what's the movement speed of the Squig Hoppers?
3d6.
Yeah, so you might not end up with a very high number there.
True.
And some units are pretty vast. So
True.
yeah, you don't
I'd love
have to
try
go
that
through
out,
the
though.
deepest part of the unit.
No. Well, that could be good then. But these count as battle line, so kind of have to take either these or Squigs, basically. Yeah, they got 2 wounds each, 2 attacks from the Squigs, 1 attack from the rider. So these are my basic Squigs. I did want to reinforce this and have a unit of 20, but I couldn't because I wouldn't have enough battle line. So I've got 2 units of 10 instead.
I'm sure that'll
So
do just as well.
yeah, if Rem sound like a pro gamer, says Mickey.
Yeah,
It all sounds great.
We'll see if he sounds like a pro gamer 5 minutes into game 1.
No, I think I will. I think I'm going to just, fall into like a piece of slime. Yeah, so I have got the Loon Shrine, which I bloody forgot to take a picture of because it is particularly nice, the paint job I did of that. But if any of these units get annihilated, killed during the game, on a 4+, half that unit can return, which is kind of handy, really, especially if the unit's quite large. So these are my Boingrot Bounders. They come in, they come in 5s, but I've reinforced them so I've got 1 unit of 10. So these are basically my Squig Knights.
Very spicy. Squig-tastic. Now, here's an interesting one for the army, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. This is. Let me get the.
Yeah, because not only have you got Squigs, you've also worked a couple of Cruel Boys units in there, which actually provide a bit of a boost, don't they?
Yeah. Which one are you showing? Which picture you showing? The Brecker Boss.
Or on the is it the Maya Brute Trogoth? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Breaker Boss on the Maya Brute Trogoth. So this guy's got regeneration. He's got -2 rend, 3 damage. And you can choose to poke him, to get the rider to poke him and make the troll mad. And if you do that, it suffer D3 mortal wounds. But for each mortal wounds, you can add 2 to the attacks of the Ironbound clubs, which are phenomenal because they're 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -2 rend, 3 damage.
It's very, very dangerous when you start poking, get all those extra attacks.
Yeah. Now I have looked at one of the lists, and one of the lists does have Gotrek on there. So maybe this could be a way of getting Gotrek down.
I've never faced him either, so I don't know the best way to take him out.
I think it's better to run.
I think it is better to just avoid him. That's what the conventional wisdom seems to say.
Because he's probably not going to have much movement unless they've got a way to, fly around. So I love these. These are my Fairwater Trogoths. They have a shooting attack with a range of 6 inch, I believe, and it's vomit. And that could be dead useful. And I think I could do, what's it called? What's it called when you stand and shoot? Someone charges
Unleash Hell.
you. Yeah, Unleash Hell. That could be good. as a way of whittling down anyone. I used 6 because from past experience with Andy, when I had a unit of 3, if one of them dies and then they fail the leadership test, you can lose your whole unit really easily. So I thought it might be better to take a bigger unit, so they're less likely to run away.
I would say 6 of them. It's really, you have to put a lot of resources into killing that unit, and if you do, they might just come back as a fresh unit of 3 anyway. So
Yeah.
people might be more inclined to ignore the unit than try and kill it, because that's a lot of wounds to get through there, isn't it?
What? So my trolls can come back through the Loon Shrine too?
Can't they?
I think they can if it's a troll-based army.
Oh, is that the only time they can do it?
I'll have to research
It's worth
that.
looking into, because I've seen armies where the trolls do come back before.
Yeah. Yeah, it might depend on whether the leader is a troll, but yeah, these are pretty good. Although one problem could be actually getting all of them to attack a unit because their base sizes are quite big. So how many of them can actually fight is a question.
I think people are very likely to try and stay away from them, because even a hard-hitting unit, like, for example, my Grandhammer Annihilators, I wouldn't be that confident of dropping down 3 of those and killing enough trolls to avoid being murdered in return.
So do you think this is a good screening unit then to have at the front of the army? Or
Well,
do you think they should come as a sort of a second wave?
it depends what you're up against, I think. But in
Yeah,
general, this is your meatiest unit, isn't it? So
yeah.
something like this, especially if you combine it with the potential buffs you've got in the army, which I think can be applied to it, it's very scary. So if you just put this somewhere, it's quite likely to be avoided. So any important objective that you put these guys on, I think that's a good role for them. Sit them on an objective.
Yeah, we've got 4 wounds each 5-up save. They can regenerate -1 to hit them because they smell really bad.
Yeah, they take quite a bit to take down. So set them on an objective. See if the enemy even bothers to try and shift them, I would say.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Okay, what else have we got? It's nearly all my units.
This is the last picture now.
Did we do the Marsh Crawler slog-off?
Yeah, this appears to be a slog-off here.
Yeah. So this one basically gives a buff to gits or is it gits units or
Is all the kind of green skin type units? What's the keyword that it applies to? Because I know it works on the various different orcs and goblins. Seen it taken in various different armies as apply to boost them.
Grot, destruction, Troggoth. So let's look at this. It's got the it's got drummers on it. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly units. Oh, it just says friendly units, right? Doesn't say with any keyword.
There you go then.
So that's really cool.
Makes it a really good ally.
Yeah, melee attacks. That it's got regeneration as well, and it's got 12 wounds, so it's not easy to kill. It's not going to be great in combat, although it can dish out a mortal wound with the goblins on top, getting someone in their nets if they've got less than 3 wounds, I think, something like that.
If you follow around your fightier units with this thing, it's going to be a very scary prospect.
Yeah, what, because of the +1 to hit?
Yep, that's a big deal.
So, I mean, that would mean that, that the trolls now have a 3-up to hit, and, the rubbishy goblins have a 4-up to hit instead of 5-up to hit, which I think is a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal if you can apply that to multiple units at the same time, because usually if you're using all-out attack, you can only apply it to 1 unit.
Yeah, and it's a big, it's within 18 inch, which is huge. So what I'm thinking is I need to keep all my units in a big blob. Is this what you call a castle?
Basically, yes. Castle, I think, usually is like at the back of the table, so you probably want to be moving forward a bit. But I think you can keep... If I was coming up against this army, my number one target would probably be maybe this thing, to be honest. Slog off, and who's your general?
The Bangler Squig.
Yeah, any of your big monsters, any of the big stuff, and maybe your, if I wanted an easy target, maybe something like your wizard. The actual Squigs, I wouldn't be as concerned about them. The trolls, I'd probably try to avoid if I could, but if I was going to pick something to kill, it'd probably be one of your big monsters. So if you can keep them screened out, if you can keep them protected so that nobody can teleport in behind them, for example, or in front of them.
Yeah, well, I made the mistake against you, putting my monsters right at the front of my army and moving them forward, and yeah, they got picked off with some of your heavy hitters.
Sometimes people don't have a choice about leaving monsters out in the open, though, because that's all they have in their army. Like Sons of Beermat, for example. They only have monsters, so you can't really screen them. So you're just going to have to pick. If you're an army like mine who wants to be killing one big thing per turn, if there's one available, then I'm going to go for it. If there's not one available, I'm going to bide my time and try and shoot down the screens a bit, or just shoot through the screens if I think the thing that they're shielding is weak enough.
Well, one thing I'd really like to do is win something or be in contention for something, and if it's not winning, maybe it can be best painted army.
Never know. You're always in with the chance best painted award.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do a lot of last minute painting before a tournament just because they want to try out new lists and whatnot. So their paint jobs may not be the best, but I always take a long time to paint my armies, and all of them are nicely themed. The only downer I can think of is that my two allied units don't have the same sort of base design because they're from a different army.
I don't think people hold that against you much.
Okay.
I think it's nice. It's cohesive for the rule boys and how they're supposed to look. So.
And the reason why I think I could win is because, why is that, Andy? Well, I won last time, didn't I?
It's true with your what was the army? Free Guild?
Yeah, it was a Free Guild Empire
Free Guild.
army.
So who knows? You could win it again. Win the coolest army award with 2 different armies back to back. That would be quite an impressive feat.
And
well, Mickey's already voting for you apparently, but I don't think Mickey's actually going to have a say in it at the event itself.
Well, there was the person that did judge them is the woman off the Warhammer TV, isn't it?
There you go. Can't argue with that.
She was there last time, and she's got, like, you know, her own TV channel and that for painting.
Now, speaking of judging people's paintwork, shall we have a look at these Ghoul Kings that community people were painting and submitting to GW? I don't know whether these were the ones that they sent out to people beforehand, but I assume they probably were, because it's only just become available. So, shall we have a look at them? So this one is from an Allison.
That's brilliant, isn't it? How did they get hold of these then? I mean, how
I
were they
assume
chosen?
that GW just plucks people from social media, says, "Would you like to paint this before release?" and send us a picture of it.
Right. Yeah, that's terrific.
So yeah, it's quite a grim paint job, this one, isn't it? Not very flashy.
Yeah, it's got the, what's it called, light sourcing or some sort of lighting effect going on there. It looks wicked.
Very nice indeed. Shall we rate them out of 10?
Yeah, I'll give this a 9. I'm feeling generous. I think it's really good.
Let's see, do I want to be more harsh than Remington?
Have you seen the others, though? I have not seen the others.
I haven't really had a look at the others.
Okay.
I'm going to give this... I really like the stonework on the throne. So on that basis, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I think that's very impressive. I think that's maybe more impressive paintwork than the actual Ghoul King itself. I really like the way this stone's done, with the green rising. Okay.
So what's your score?
I gave it an 8.
An 8. Okay.
This one is from an Antony. Go with another Ghoul King. About this one.
It looks like it's just basically been base painted with a wash, apart from the eyes. So for me, that is a 6.
I think maybe the photo hasn't done it justice. I don't know whether it's like not completely in focus or something, but the colours look a bit kind of blurred together in some places.
Yeah,
I think maybe we'd need a better photo of that one if that is the case.
maybe it's been contrast painted. Just
I don't know, because I can see some highlights on the knee. It's just not very clear. So maybe I'm being generous by blaming the photo, but what did you give it?
I give it I'm going to give it a 5.
5. I think that's about fair. If we consider 1 as someone just drops it in a bucket of paint, and 10 is the Golden Demon Slayer sword winner,
Yes.
then I think 5 is fair for that one. Okay, next. This is from a Chris. And we've got a green Ghoul King this time.
Oh, nice.
I like the sword.
Yeah, this is a good 6.5, 7 for me. I like the flesh.
That's quite fair, actually. I like the
I think
sword a lot. I think the green flesh is cool.
more work could have been done on the throne, though.
Yeah, I think the throne is the most basic part of it. So I think let's go for, I think 6.5. I was going to say 6, but I really like this rust on the sword.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair enough. I think that.
Okay, then we've got a Ryan. And okay, I think we've got maybe the best Ghoul King flesh work so far.
Yeah, it's cool.
Very nice, this one. Nice sword
I'll
again
give
as
that
well.
an 8. I'll give that 7.5 to 8. Yeah.
I'm thinking about 8 on this as well, actually. Yeah, I do like this flesh a lot. Very interesting tones there. Nice crown work. Not the most interesting base colour.
No.
Then we've got one from a Spencer. This one has a bit more of a textured base going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like it. Can you give it a 5, a 5.5?
You're going to alienate the community with your harsh critique.
Yeah, there. I think the flesh looks cool, but yeah, I mean it's passable. Yeah, it's good. It's all right. Base is all right, isn't it?
Pretty good. I'm going to give it a 6.5. And we've got one
Okay.
from a John. Okay, we've got glowing eyes here.
All right. I like this. This is very different. Yeah, this is wicked. It looks a bit like Thundercats. One of the characters. Do you remember Thundercats in the
Sure do.
80s?
Everyone loves Thundercats. I think
Yeah.
the lighting, the glow on the upper body definitely sets this one apart so far. It seems to be
Yeah.
at a higher level than the others, certainly.
Yeah, this is a 9 for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 9.2.
Well, I'm just going to go with a flat 9, I think. But it is very, very good. It definitely looks on another level to some of the others we've seen, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
See the work on the gemstone, the little highlights all over it on the stone, flesh. That lighting effect there, very nice. More time's gone into that one, I think. Then we've got one from a Matt. And this one, very, very green.
Yeah, it just looks like it's been base coated again. So that's a 3 for me.
That's a bit harsh.
Mm,
Let's see,
well,
what did we give the other one that I felt was quite basic? I think.
life is harsh, Andy.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be a bit more generous and say 5 for this one. Because it's neat, isn't it? Then we've got one from a Vincent. Oh, wow, this is a really good one, isn't it? Like that flesh.
Yeah, it's all right. I'll give it a 6.
I like the flesh a lot. The throne, I think more could be done on there. I like the sword. I like those little touches in there.
The recesses are too dark for me.
It looks like it's been, I don't know whether it is the case, but maybe contrast and then highlighted up from there, because you can see there are some actual highlights on it.
Yeah.
So very dark, but I do like the flesh. It's the kind of thing that catches the eye from across the table, this one.
Yeah. It could look cool if the whole army was like that. So
Let's go for... In terms of just the overall effect and my first initial impression, it caught my eye with this flesh, so I'm going to give it an 8.
wow.
What did you give it?
I mean, the more I look at it, I'm going to give it a 7.
Okay, that's the lot. So which one did we say was the best? I believe it was this one.
Yeah, the first one or the multicoloured one for me.
Have a look at the first one again. That was the first one.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe the best throne.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Yeah, and then the best Ghoul King on the throne, maybe this one. Is that the one that we said was very impressive?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so overall, see a good assortment of Ghoul Kings there.
Have you ever played against a ghoul army?
Have I played against a Ghoul army? I don't think so, actually. I don't think I've played against the old Flesh Eater courts yet.
No.
I don't think so. If I have, it would be a very small number of games.
Now, looking at the armies on this list, Andy, is there any surprises on there? Any armies that you've never played before?
Well, I'm going to have a look at the app right now, actually, the app for the tournament tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go through my list, actually, first. So, the kind of list I've been running a lot lately, as people will know if they've been following my tournament reports, the Lord Imperator is always in there, because he lets the Annihilators drop down only 7 inches away from you. So there's the Imperator and the 2 Grand Hammer Annihilator units, they're always in there. 2 units of Liberators and the unit of Judicators are always in there to make up the battle line. Chariot, that's been a mainstay since I painted that, that's always fun. And then the Vanguard Raptors with long strike crossbows, always in there. Apart from that, there are some big changes to the list. So the biggest one is that instead of more heroes, I've gone for the mercenary giant Bundo Whalebiter, who will be portrayed by the Jason and the Argonauts, Talos, painted in gold.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking is, because my Stormcast army has struggled with holding objectives, or preventing the enemy from scoring, because I don't have units that can sit on an objective and live,
Yeah.
then somebody like a Bundo Whalebiter, for example, with his millions of wounds, I think he is a fine choice to go and sit on objectives. And it's not like I'm sacrificing the rest of the army to do it. I've still got a lot of good stuff in there. I'm still able to play in basically the same way. I just now have filled a perceived weakness in my list, so we'll see if it actually works out that way.
So, Andy, if someone manages to kill the giant and kill your Thunderhammer guys, that's basically the hardest bit of your army, isn't it?
Yes, the Grandhammers don't expect to live. They expect to come in and kill something and then die. They're there to delete things. The giant, the Gargant, is there to maybe actually survive. That would be nice. Most of my units can't do that. I've taken Bastion a lot. He's pretty good at surviving, but he's just one hero, so he's not really an objective holder.
I see.
So a Gargant is worth 20 models on an objective or something obscene like that. Another big change is the battalions I've taken, actually. Because I used to take quite a few different battalions to unlock extra stuff and not care about how many drops I had. This list is actually 2 battle regiments, which means it's only 2 drops. So,
now, Andy, did you used to have to pay for battalions?
I don't remember having to pay for battalions. Maybe when they first came in.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
But no. So the only being 2 drops means obviously that I might finish setting up before my opponent, So I might get the choice of going first or second.
I've got 6 drops.
Yes, so if I was playing against you, I would decide who goes first based on the
And you would
deployment.
decide that I would go first, and then that's what normally happens, isn't it? Then I move forward, and then you annihilate me.
Well, because I want to drop the Annihilators in, it is common for me to want to go second. Because if the enemy just stands still, they're losing a turn. If they start moving, then they're more likely to leave gaps for me to land in. The Annihilators teleporting. Going second is sometimes better. And going first can be good though, because I've got some good shooting options and the ability now with a Gargant to leap onto an objective. So could work out quite nicely.
Yeah, good. Any other things in your list then, or is that it?
That is it really. I've got my possibility of bringing back a unit of Liberators when they die with call for aid, the Holy Command. So I have to actually have a command point ready to spend when a unit of Liberators dies, and then I can bring one of those back near a hero. And I've only got the one hero.
Can you only do that once?
Yes, just once per game. So it's like a free unit of Liberators, as long as I don't like make a mistake and use all my command points when they all die, for example.
Yeah. And is your leader, is he going to be safe? Has he got lots of wounds?
The Lord Imperator, he's not that safe, to be honest. He's just one guy. But he's decently survivable by foot hero standards. He's a Stormcast Eternal after all, and I'm probably not going to be throwing him into the middle of combat willy-nilly. So yeah, if you had a choice, that would be something to target. If my Annihilators haven't come down yet, he is target numero uno, Lord Imperator, because then I can only drop them down 9 inches away from you instead of 7.
Yeah.
Once they've come down, he's not as important. He is the general though, and he is also my only wizard because he's got the Arcane Tome. So, still juicy target, I'd say. If I was looking at facing my own army, I would think that giant's very scary. If I've got the tools, I would like to kill that very fast. Yeah. And I would like to prevent the Annihilators from landing anywhere where they can really do maximum damage. You look at how many points the Annihilators are at 240. If they see something like Kragnos out in the open, 720 points, they can quite easily kill him in one turn.
No way. Wow.
So, especially if I shoot him a bit first, and they're definitely capable of it. They've done it before. So if they see a target like that, a unit just out in the open on its own, that's really expensive that they feel they can kill in one go, that's what they're going to go for. If I'm up against an army where everything is really feeble and terrible, and each unit is about 150 points, I'm not going to get good value for dropping them down and killing one unit.
No. Have you ever gone up against a Gotrek and done?
I have never gone up against Gotrek. He's very hard to kill, and it's very hard to not be killed by him.
Are those Thunderhammer guys? Are they good for just sticking on an objective, or do they have to go in and fight?
They have to kill something and then they die. So you just want to find something that's worthwhile to kill in a raid, basically. Because they don't survive very well. They don't have a lot of wounds. And there's no mortal wound defense. Oh yeah, one interesting thing actually about my army. It's the Astral Templars subfaction, which means that monstrous rampages cannot be used against my Stormcast units.
Wow.
Because I often found that when the Grandhammer Annihilators would drop down, they would like to charge a big monster, and then when they get there, they don't want to have one of them stepped on.
No, because it dishes out mortal wounds, right?
Yeah. So potentially you can kill someone by stomping on them, or you could just prevent them having all-out attack used on them with a monster rampage as well. So not having to worry about that.
It's like Hunters of the Heartland, isn't it? That's what they used to have.
Yes. So obviously I've got my Gargant, though, who is not an Astral Templar. I did actually run that subfaction with Bastion, who is not an Astral Templar either, so he was the only one in the army that could be monstrous rampaged, so I just kept him away from the monsters. Bastion probably doesn't want to fight monsters anyway, really. He wants things he can actually kill a few of in a turn so he can get all his wounds back again. You feeling confident?
I just want to run through. Have I got everything I need for tomorrow? I've got my miniatures.
Let's find out.
I need to send you some war scrolls for you to print out. Because that'd be really handy.
The new Gits book is out soon, isn't it? And then they'll have the new war scrolls available for purchase, no doubt.
Yeah, but you see, they did have war scroll cards for Gloomsky, but they sold out really quickly, and then they didn't make any more.
And those ones will be out of date as well. So when the new book comes out, you want to jump on them immediately.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you've got everything, because as far as I'm aware, all your dice are still at the venue from the last tournament you attended there, which was...
Oh.
When was that? 6 months ago?
Yeah, that's good, because I was looking for them.
Yeah, I think all your dice are still there with your army that you left there. So Annie could use it on day 2.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
and then you haven't picked it up since then.
Right. Okay, brilliant. I hope they're still... Yeah. And my award-winning army is still there.
That is true.
So yeah, I've got dice. I've got some new dice I'm bringing. I've got some proper Age of Sigmar ones. You know, they're a bit bigger, so maybe I won't have to use the skull dice, which are terrible normally. I can use them as wound counters instead.
I'm going to give the...
I've got a measuring...
I think you're all prepared.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the people a sneak preview, actually, because I've got your Christmas present right here. There you go, look at that.
That looks like a bot. Can you shake it?
I'm not going to shake it. That might be a spoiler.
Oh. Well, I did get a message from Andy. It said, don't buy any more miniatures for Christmas. So
who knows? I'll show you some of the miniatures I got for Christmas, actually.
Yeah.
Because some of them, varying degrees of excited the audience might be. So, Kings of War, we've got some ogre shooters.
Oh, cool. Are these ones you don't have yet?
Yep. So I got the ogre, like mega ogre army, but that doesn't have shooters in it, and it also doesn't have siege breakers in it, who are like the armored ogre infantry, massive shields.
Brilliant.
I've got more ogres now, so when I start working on those, I'll have even more to do. In addition to that, we've got another unit of long strike vanguard raptors, or I could do them as the crossbow ones if I felt the short range crossbow ones if I felt like it.
Right. Okay.
Except I won't.
I was going to get you some of them.
More ether wings as well. So can't argue with that. I think I am going to do them as long strikes because you know I like my long range shooting.
Yeah, I'd like to show the audience what I've got you, but then you might be tempted to look. But I think it's good.
I've also got these vanquishers, 10 of those.
Good. You don't have them, do you?
I do not have any vanquishers, no.
Didn't you have the ones with the spear and shields?
I've got some of those, but I haven't painted them.
I see.
Yeah, the ones with the spears that came in the...
Yeah, I like the look
called
of
Dominion.
those ones. They look a bit more slimline, don't they? A bit more athletic.
Yes. So, got all those ready to roll on the painting table, and I think I can actually reveal what I've been working on the painting table as well. There's 2 projects ongoing here. The Sons of Beermat army. We've got Mini Giant.
Brilliant.
So, viewers of this show getting an exclusive look at this 3-headed mythical giant, which is based on the model Pepe the Giant, which is actually available from, I think it's available from Bad Squiddo. It's Dungeons and Lasers like the dragons.
Is there any giants going to be at the tournament? I didn't see any.
Well,
exclusive
other than mine. Then this. Okay, are you ready?
Oh wow! It's like a chaos giant, isn't it? I suppose.
Dun dun dun. So all my horrible tentacly giants. This is maybe the most vast of them, and it actually has a head. Happens to be Kraken's head.
That's fantastic. So how many giants you got now?
Well, this will be number 3 potential Mega Gargants. So it doubles up because I'm going to put it on the square base, my Kings of War Night Stalkers. And then
Yeah.
I've ordered some big round bases, Gargant size, that the square bases can slot into, so I can use them for the Sons of Behemat army as well. So, very exciting times ahead. And I've actually done more sculpting on this model than I have on anything else, because, I don't know how well you can see it, but there's like eyeballs that I've worked on.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, so I made some balls of milliput, cut them in half, stuck them on, and then made a big flat piece of green stuff, laid that over the top, pressed it down, and then cut an eye slit, and then like sculpted out the eyelids. So we'll see how that comes out.
Nice.
Very exciting.
Surprising how quick you can get back into the swing of things, isn't it? Because I had about almost 2 or 3 months of no painting really, because I was either ill or on tour. So yeah, I've got this army back on the road. You know, hoping for some more. You know, we'll see how it goes tomorrow. I might want to never play this game again after tomorrow.
I'm pretty sure that won't happen. All the tournaments I've played in there, very friendly and helpful if there's anything in the rules you're not % sure on.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest fear, really. It's just trying to remember stuff and being slow.
Well, you've picked an army that's fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
Which is good. The only things to remember, really, you've got your 18-inch bubble with the slog off, but that's not difficult, and it doesn't change from turn to turn like with the Daughters of Cain.
Yeah,
Or each turn they have a different ability.
I mean, to remember when to use command things and heroic actions.
Yeah. Do you have the Bad Moon thing? Is that part of is that relevant to your army? The one that moves across the table. So that's really the only weird thing to keep track of, I think. That's not too that's not too complicated.
No, it's not. If it's in your favour, it can be quite good. If the light of the Bad Moon is in quadrant where you have models, you get +1 to cast. It's -1 to cast for you guys, and I think there's some charge bonuses and whatnot. So yeah, we'll see, man. I'm just going to take it easy. See what happens.
Got Tom in the chat who says, I like that attack squig. Yeah, it is cool. We're not so keen on the mask on the goblin though, are we?
Nah, not really, no. It looks like they've basically kit bashed that from Goblin pieces, from Moon Clan pieces from before. I do like the squig, but I thought maybe they could have got a special squig or...
I do like armoured squigs as a concept.
Yeah, that's a great idea, isn't it? Yeah, because they only have a 6-up saving throw, if any at all, I think. Just double check that. Squigs, yeah, they've only got a 6-up save, so that could be good. Something like that, giving them a 4-up, making them a bit more survivable. Because I do think they're like cannon fodder, really, aren't they? They can get totally taken off quickly. The
now,
Squigs.
You may notice there's a Space Marine on the screen. That's because I just thought I'd look at all the stuff that can be ordered this week. So the preview of the new stuff. Space Marine, obviously, we're not that bothered about it. But one thing that's kind of interesting is made to order, which they do occasionally, where you can order some old miniatures. And I remember back in the day, the White Dwarf magazine, looking in the back, seeing some of these weird Space Marine armor variants and thinking, wouldn't it be cool to build an entire army of Space Marines with nothing but this armor? And then looking at the price and thinking, actually, no, I couldn't do that. Just get 10 plastic ones instead. But it was always a dream to have an army with this kind of unique helmets. So it's nice to see those available for order again, and that they've not totally neglected the old school, small, mini Space Marines.
Are they metal, though?
Well, let's see. 5 resin Space Marines in different marks of armor. So they'll be in resin. But they were originally, obviously. And then made to order Space Marine Captain. I don't actually remember this Space Marine Captain. Then made to order Lord Executioner. I think I do remember this guy, actually. Very elaborate.
Yeah, he's cool.
Also, lots of these old school classics. Made to order Heroes of the Chapter. Are these... I don't think these are old school Marines, are they? Yeah, these are all Primaris, which obviously doesn't interest me. The giant Space Marine. Then Chaplain with a jump pack. Old school again.
So we've got one Age of Sigmar figure and loads of made to order 40k.
Made to order Librarian and Terminator armor.
Hey, did we cover the news about 40k? That the guy from Superman, he's done a partnership with Amazon.
We didn't talk about that actually. I suppose we could talk about that now. So, do you want to fill people in? Anyone who might have been living under a rock?
Yeah, what's his name? With my age, my mind just goes blank.
Cavill.
About stuff. Yeah, Henry Cavill. Well, that's Henry Cavill, massive Warhammer fan. He's done a deal with Amazon and Games Workshop to produce Warhammer content through Amazon. So it could be, bringing it to the screen, either films or series, TV shows. And I think he stepped back from The Witcher, so I think this will probably take a good year or two before it comes to anything. Right, 2 years.
Yeah, I imagine it'll be a couple of years before we see anything tangible.
It's fantastic. I mean, can you imagine the Horus Heresy? That could be something that could go on for 10 seasons, couldn't it? But it'd be like huge budget. But here we go, man. So, yeah.
I'm sure us being more on the fantasy side, we would much prefer to see some depictions of the old world.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. I don't know.
But 40k is the big active lore IP from.
There isn't as much competition with 40k. See, with Fantasy Age Sigmar, you've got so many you've got swords and sorcery stuff. You've got all the Viking stuff. You've got a lot of stuff from the past, which is basically swords and shields. Lord of the Rings, So with the future thing, it's like.
What would you say is competition for a Warhammer 40,000 series? Do you think it actually competes in the same space as like the new Star Wars content or Star Trek? Or do you think it sets itself apart by being maybe darker and grittier than those?
Yeah. I mean, that's the key to it, isn't it? Darker and grittier. I think it does set itself apart, yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to keep an eye on anyway. And also what that means for, if it means anything for Warhammer TV, Warhammer Plus, whether it's going to make any changes there. Some big budget, potentially, content on another platform.
I think what will be hard is getting a breakthrough film that could really cross the generations and cross the different. Everyone knows what Star Wars is. If they could make a product or a film or a series that everyone knows, Game of Thrones, right? So it could be great if something that they do becomes that big. I think that'd be great for Games Workshop for sure.
I would say it would be great for the industry, because usually whatever happens, if GW are doing well, presumably that trickles down because people are aware of other game systems. But have you noticed that Games Workshop they've made it a point of describing the hobby as Warhammer over the last or two?
Yeah.
They won't use terms like wargaming. It's always the Warhammer hobby. It's like, do you Warhammer? Not do you wargame, do you paint miniatures? It's do you Warhammer? Which is obviously a strategic move on their part.
Yeah. It's quite clever, really.
Because you'll see it on social media. I see it a lot on Twitter. People not necessarily describing themselves as wargamers anymore. Like, I do Warhammer. It's not wargaming. So for those of us that play games that aren't exclusively Warhammer, it looks a bit weird at times. It's
Yeah.
good marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think I think some people that don't know enough about the hobby think but are into Amazon and they're into like, they might be thinking that these IPs, this whole Warhammer thing can be swallowed up by a bigger company, like Disney or Amazon, but I can't see that happening. I can see Games Workshop licensing things out until they become big enough to become their own Disney. I've always thought that way. I've thought that for I said it on this show for about 3 or 4 or 5 years.
So you don't think
So
it could ever come to pass that Games Workshop does a Cadbury's, for example, where they're like the pride of the UK in a particular industry, and then
yeah,
the big American monsters come in, swallow them up, make some changes that people aren't happy with, and you just have to accept it because money talks?
I don't think so. No, as long as the current ethos and the company stays the same, and the key personnel that are the directors and the board stay the same. Um, if you remember, like before Disney had their own started buying up stuff. Like the first few um, st- Spider-Man films, that Marvel Spider-Man films came out through Sony Pictures, I think, and this is one of the reasons why they kept having to rebrand it with different Spider-Men until sort of Disney owned it again. So it could be. I can see that happening. So there could be an Amazon version of Warhammer things, and then at some point there's a different version from a different company produces the content. I can see that happening.
So you think that if Amazon have a deal to have the exclusive rights for, let's say, live action Warhammer 40,000 adaptations,
Yeah,
you think that eventually someone else might want to make something similar, and
yeah,
deals would have to be reached, or when deals expired, suddenly you'll get into a bidding war, depending
yeah.
on how deals are structured and so on. Do you think it could become this massive multimedia empire larger than it is now?
Who's to say? Would I even like it to? I'm not sure. I think why not? It'd be great for the British. It'd be great to have a British company, wouldn't it? Being that influential, it would be good. I mean, we used to have very famous studios here that where Star Wars was filmed. We had our own British movie making industry, so it'd be brilliant if they could keep that tradition, bring back that tradition somehow, move it away from Hollywood.
Time will tell.
Hmm.
See what's going on in the comments. Colin says, it's silly, it would be like me saying I am a manticore. Yes, it is kind of like that. I don't think people's hobbies are ever limited to just one company, really. I think even the most hardcore GW people, they've probably got a few paints from a different company.
Yeah, of course they have.
Yeah, so it's not, the hobby is not just Warhammer.
No.
For the majority of people, I would say. I'm sure almost everyone uses something in their hobby that wasn't sold by Games Workshop. I think that's safe to say. Very few people are completely pure GW with miniatures, paints, tools, gaming accessories, dice, everything. I may be wrong, but that's the impression I get.
If when they first start out, they might be, but as soon as they sort of start seeing the bigger picture of things, I think they can get introduced to other worlds, other gaming systems, because it's people that introduce the gaming systems to you, isn't it? It's other hobbyists. So as you get more into it, you meet more people, you see more things going on. But when you first start out, you might only start in one ecosystem. That could last, a good couple of years or so.
What do you think of these Necromunda miniatures while we're resting on this image for a long time? They're quite horrifying
Brilliant.
beasts.
They're so cool.
We've had some harsh criticism of the handler, and I can get that. He's not the most impressive looking.
I don't know. I think he's all right.
I'm not sure about the helmet. Could have done with a maybe a bare face, but then would you really want to handle these creatures without a helmet?
Definitely. Like, you can't handle those creatures, man. They're like, well, you don't want your hand anywhere near it, do you?
Certainly not. There is actually some fantasy stuff here, though. So,
Oh, really?
Middle Earth. Yeah. Got
Oh.
Horseman Warband, Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth. And we've also got Frodo, Sam, and Gollum. Are these actually new? Classic miniatures. There you go. Return to the range. This collection of characters as they were. Yeah. So, be sure these are old, but coming back. Anything else interesting here? Warhammer Plus, are you keeping up with Warhammer Plus with your subscription? You keeping an eye on the battle reports and so on?
Yeah, I generally leave it for a couple of weeks and then have a good 2 or 3 hours watching the content. But what I've got more into recently is reading the stuff in the Warhammer Vault, because it's a real treasure trove. The only thing is, it's not as good as having the book in your hand, you know, because they've got the Kragnos book in there. They've got a lot of those Age of Sigmar books that were released, you know, to go along with new rules and new models. And I'd like to read all those, but it's difficult reading them on your phone or reading them on a tablet or even reading them on a big screen. I prefer to have a big book in my hand. So that's the only downside of it, but it is a great resource.
There's nothing
for sure.
like a rigid hardback in the hand, they say.
Yeah. What do you think? You come off it, didn't you?
I did not renew my subscription. That's mainly for financial reasons.
Yeah.
I was looking to make some savings somewhere, and I thought, I'm not actually watching it very often.
Yeah.
There's not much there that I'm bothered about keeping up with. If I want to watch
Yeah.
battle reports, there's plenty of other channels out there.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like the Warhammer Vault was extensive enough at this stage. But even if I hop in with a subscription in the future, I'm not going to lose access to the stuff that's coming out now. So I feel like giving them time to build up their back catalogue to places I might care about. So if the White Dwarf collection expands in the Vault, it goes all the way back to the time when I was starting out in the hobby.
Yeah, I don't know if it does that.
It doesn't yet, but if it were to get to that point, I would definitely consider renewing to have access to that.
That'd be crazy because there's like 600 editions, isn't there?
I don't know how many magazines there have been, but when I was starting, it was the late 100s, so it was like 190 something. So I think the earliest one I had, probably 192 maybe, something like that. And then when issue 200 came out, I got the fancy celebratory t-shirt with the White Dwarf on it with my subscription.
I can tell you how far it goes back, if you like.
One. Remington entering the Vault now to do a bit of research live on air to tell us how many issues of White Dwarf you can access in the Vault. When I last checked, they weren't old enough for my liking.
Oh man, Jesus. Well, they've got all the Warhammer Visions. Do you remember those?
I certainly do remember that disaster of a concept.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh right. It's just taking a little bit of time to load up because there's a lot of high quality images.
Well, while that's loading, let's have a quick look at the chat. So we've got Stu in there. He says, Peachy and Duncan are good examples. Always just talked about GW games, then as soon as they leave, turns out they were into all sorts of games the whole time. Yeah, obviously, while people are working for Games Workshop, that's all they're going to talk about. Otherwise, I'm sure their bosses wouldn't be too happy. But yeah, as soon as they're out the door, they suddenly reveal, actually, we're really into World War II or whatever other systems.
Yeah.
So, yeah, even people you might consider purists maybe have other interests outside of Warhammer as well.
Well, Andy, it looks like the White Dwarfs on the Warhammer Vault currently go back to September 2016.
Yeah, so you're going to have to knock another 20 years off that before it's going to be of interest to me.
Yeah.
And the older issue is going to be more difficult to upload, I assume, as well, because they're not going to be stored in the same kind of digital way.
Oh, that's right. Oh no, I tell a lie. Tell a lie. I'm seeing White Dwarves from August 2013.
Oh, well, you're getting
Uh,
closer.
yeah, earlier than that. Hold on. Yeah, April. Yeah, 2011. Just took a little while to load up. 2010 when
Getting
New
warmer.
High Elves came out. Island of Blood. Was it getting better for you? 2009. Yeah, White Dwarf, January 2009.
Is that the oldest?
The oldest I can see. No, it goes back even further.
The drama.
Oh wow! I wish I could share my screen with you because it.
Probably get
Yeah,
immediately pulled down from YouTube.
April 2007, and they just brought out some painting Harlequin models.
William says February 2006 seems to be the earliest.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so if you knock 10 years off
Yeah.
that, then suddenly I would be very interested in Warhammer Plus subscription if I could read all those old issues. Because I did have a vast White Dwarf collection, but because it was just so big and physical magazines take up so much space and I was so rarely reading them, I had to sell them in the end.
Yeah.
The only one I kept was a duplicate of, I believe, 200 and... I want to say maybe 221, somewhere around there. It was a particular issue that has, I think it has Archaean on the front, maybe? Some kind of Chaos Warrior. But I kept that one. I always liked that issue. I remember going into school and reading that in the library because I was one of the cool kids. So I had a duplicate of that one, so I did actually keep it. I had one copy of Warhammer Visions that someone gave me because it had the new dwarves in it. So that's the only copy of that I've owned. Assume you didn't really jump on the Visions bandwagon.
Nah. I used to read them in the shop. I used to have a flick through in the shop, really.
Yeah, it's just so easy to access high quality images of painted miniatures that.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was more of a yearly book with really big, super high quality images, really well presented, that would be something that could interest people. Not just painted miniatures, you could also put some of the artwork in there as well.
Yeah.
Proper art book.
Do you think it'd be good to have the Andy and Rem magazine? That'd be good, wouldn't it? For a subscription-based service.
Well, anything that takes money away from the general public and puts it into our pockets is always a winner with me. So
is that $1 million idea then?
I don't know about 1 million, but we'll certainly look into that.
Fantastic. Well, Annie, we got to call it a day because we've got a big day tomorrow.
We certainly have. Don't want to be staying up too late tonight and not being at our sharpest for the tournament. Your first ever singles tournament. Is it your first singles tournament for any game system ever?
Yeah. It is. So
I would estimate that it's probably about my 65th or 70th singles tournament for a game system.
Wow.
Not that many for Age of Sigmar, though.
Wow. Well, I wish you luck, Andy. I don't think you'll need it, but there you go.
I may well need it. If the lists that you've looked at are as horrible as you described, I haven't actually gone through them all.
Owen says I need to do a bat rep on my channel.
Well,
yeah, I do.
I think you should be taking some pictures during tomorrow's games, and then you can do a wrap-up video.
I definitely will.
That's what the people want to see. So yeah, everyone subscribe to Remington's channel, because there may actually be content on it soon. And I'm sure we'll talk about it on maybe next week's show as well. So let me bring up the episode thumbnail as we wind this one down during the festive season. So hopefully everyone's had a pretty good festive time over this period of the year. Hopefully that continues all the way into the new year as well. And especially when it comes to the wargaming hobby, or the Warhammer hobby if you're that way inclined. And
Yeah, we need to get some new pictures up, don't we? Really?
We do. We're thinking about recording some live in-game footage of maybe dice rolling or something like that to make a more exciting intro video, because it's not been updated for quite a while. And I think for this new era, we do need a new intro video. It's all very well having a still image of Santa, but there's nothing that can replace good quality moving pictures. So, don't forget to check out all the links in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I can see some people definitely haven't liked the video because there are more viewers than likes right now, which is a disgrace as far as I'm concerned. Everyone start liking this furiously. And if you've already liked it, why not unlike it and like it again? Just to prove a point. And Mr. Remington, have you got any parting words for the audience before we end this stream?
Thanks for turning up. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas to all. Happy holidays to all. Happy New Year to all. And we'll catch you on the other side. All that remains to be said now, for this year, good night out there, whatever you are.
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer